Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, seafarers, global citizens, mentors, everybody who's watching us live right now. This is Captain Shaukat Mukherjee from the Naval Connection, welcoming you to the second day of the Future Skills Maritime 2020 Global Conference. I am at the loss of words to just begin the session today because we had a stupendous session yesterday. We had two sessions. Yesterday on the first day of the Future Skills Maritime, we had thousands of visitors all around the world. People were watching in groups. Seafarers have sent me photographs where people have clustered in groups and they are watching on the big screen. It makes me emotional. It makes me proud of the fact that we put in this effort and it's adding value to the lives of seafarers. So I have to thank all of you for your engagement on the platform today and yesterday as well. And today is a brand new day. We have an extremely energetic lineup of speakers today and a very interesting panel set up today. And the panel is understanding the needs of the seafarer. We're expecting a lot of seafarers to attend this meeting today, and post in your questions while the speaker speaks. You have a live Q&A button. You can post in your questions. We will try and make it that every question that you put in gets answered. Without any delay, I would like to introduce the August panel. Firstly, thank you so much for agreeing to take part. Your experts like you, visionaries like you, sitting on strong and chairs of responsibilities and adding so much of value to people's lives and seafarers while they are on board. I'm sure this will be a huge learning experience for everybody hearing you speak today. So I would like to introduce one by one the August panel that we've lined up today. And first of all, I would like to introduce our moderator today, and Captain Shiv Halbe. Can I have Captain Halbe's introduction, please?
Captain Halbe passed out from T.S. Rajendra in 1976 and thereafter joined Scindia's Steam Navigation as a cadet. He served in various ascending capacities till 1986, after which he joined foreign flagships and sailed as master in 1991 on cargo ships, bulk carriers, tankers and oil carriers. Captain Shiv shifted ashore in 1992 with Denham Ship Management as a superintendent in Mumbai and took over as general manager in the year 1996. He has been closely involved in setting up MASSA Maritime Academies in Mumbai and Chennai. In 2002, he started and set up ASP Ship Management in Mumbai. Captain Shiv also served with Gulf Energy Maritime Services as MD for 9 years. Presently, Captain Halbe is the CEO of MASSA since 2018. He is a fellow of CMMI and also a member of Nautical Institute UK. The Naval Connection proudly presents Captain Shiv Halbe as a moderator at the FSM 2022.
Put your hands together for Captain Shiv Halbe, sir, one of the best moderators I have seen in my life so far, and welcoming Captain Shiv Halbe as the moderator for this session number 3 at the FSM Day 2. Our next speaker is none other than Captain Paintal. Can we have Captain Paintal's introduction, please?
Captain Paintal has 20 plus years experience at sea, including 11 years of command experience. He sailed in well-reputed companies, starting as deck cadet with P&O and then rising up to the rank of master with USM Hong Kong and Gearbulk, Norway. He worked as superintendent with United Ship Management in Hong Kong, then at their office, Mumbai, East Fleet Management Limited as CEO. Captain Paintal is a former chairman and on the board of directors of FOSMA FMI-RO for several years. He's actively engaged in the setting up and running of FOSMA Maritime Training Institutes, providing world-class training to Indian seafarers. The Naval Connection proudly presents Captain K.S. Paintal as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Captain K.S. Paintal, one of the most suave gentlemen I have seen, always impeccably dressed and exquisitely well-spoken. So thank you, sir, for agreeing to take part in FSM 2022. Our next speaker is from Philippines, coming on to him, Captain Allan Sarmiento. Before I talk about Captain Allan Sarmiento, I would like to thank my friend, if he's there on the platform listening to me, Marlon Messina from Philippines. Marlon, thank you so much for getting all people across from Manila to hear this conference, and also a great friend of Captain Allan. So thanks, Marlon. And now can we have the introduction of Captain Allan, please?
Captain Allan R. Sarmiento is an accomplished master mariner with over 18 years of sea time in container and heavy lift vessels. He is the former chairman and president of Rickmers Marine Agency Philippines, a German-based shipping company. Former vice president of Seaborne Marine Services. Presently, he serves as the general manager of Wilhelmsen-Smith Bell Manning Incorporated. Allan is a member of Maritime Committee, German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce. He is also a member of Philippine-Norway Business Council and a board of director, vice president, Overseas Placement Association of the Philippines. He is the founding member and board of trustee Maritime Stakeholders Alliance of Asia Skills. His experience and skills range in the field of manning, shipping management, training, education, and maritime operations. The Naval Connection TNC proudly presents Captain Allan Sarmiento as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Welcome, Captain Allan from Philippines, and great to have you with us. I'm sure you will bring in a lot of global perspectives to this Seafaring Challenge session. Our next speaker is very interesting. She's not a seafarer, but she's done enough for seafarers already and working very closely with the Naval Connection to launch in future a package, an enhanced program on mental health for seafarers. And she's none other than counselor and psychologist Twishi Chand. Can we have Twishi's introduction, please?
With almost 8 years of experience in the field of mental health, including 4+ years of independent practice as a psychologist, Twishi Chand has experience in helping her clients deal with a wide range of emotional and psychological challenges and disorders. She has been successful in helping them overcome their hurdles, garner their strength, and surpass their current potential. She is also an experienced psycho-oncologist. We are limited not by our capabilities, but by how capable we think we are, says Twishi. Twishi previously worked as psychologist for the ICU, critical care, nephrology, and bone marrow transplant department. Currently associated with the clinic Mind Solace as a counseling psychologist, Twishi's experience in working with seafarers' mental health and anxiety issues will add value to her participation at the FSM 2022 as a speaker. TNC warmly welcomes Twishi Chand to FSM 2022.
Welcome, Twishi. Mental health and mental well-being for seafarers is one of the most talked about issues of today's time. So I hope you have your jacket, your bulletproof jacket on. We will field all the questions, and I'm sure your jackets will have lots and lots of pockets. Okay, so our next speaker for today would be Captain Aakriti Barthwal. Yesterday, we saw a lady, Captain Suneha, speak at session 2 of the FSM. Today, we have yet another lady captain. She's Captain Aakriti. Can we have her introduction, please?
Captain Aakriti joined as a pre-sea cadet in 2004 and got promoted as a chief mate in 2011. In 2017, she got her first command as master on oil tanker Swarna Krishna of the Shipping Corporation of India. In 2019, Captain Aakriti joined Synergy as Marine Superintendent QHSE. She is presently based and works out of Synergy's Pune office in Maharashtra. The Naval Connection is proud to present Captain Aakriti Barthwal as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Captain Aakriti Barthwal. And our next speaker of today would be none other than Captain Mohan Naik. Most of you, he does not need any particular introduction because he is one of the most experienced people, most experienced MD we have in the industry, Indian industry, maritime industry now. But for those of you who want to know his plethora of extensive experience over the years, here's a little brief recap of what he's done. So can we have his Captain Mohan Naik's introduction, please?
Captain Mohan V. Naik is the Managing Director of Dynacom India. He started his career as a cadet at the JESCO's Academy's T.S. Jawahar in 1976. Captain Naik is an extra master and also an LLB from the Mumbai University and an LLM in Maritime Law from the London Metropolitan University. He acts as an expert witness in Admiralty cases, ship arrest releases. He's actively involved in ship sale and purchase, ship registration, third party and all major vetting, insurance, reinsurance, protection and indemnity matters for his company. He has authored 2 books, namely Chart Work and Passage Planning, Maritime Legislation and Shipboard Management. He is a fellow of the Indian Council of Arbitration and has handled several arbitration cases under ICA as an arbitrator. He is empaneled as a maritime arbitrator with IACC Mumbai. He is a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators and is a fellow of the Nautical Institute, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, a past director of FOSMA, a fellow of the Company of Master Mariners of India. It's a privilege for the TNC to present Captain Mohan Naik as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Welcome to Captain Mohan Naik, and we are very keen, together with all the seafarers, to hear him speak today at Seafaring Challenges today in this session. Our next speaker would be none other than Karthik Viswanathan, heading Qatar Airways in India. You saw Karthik yesterday, some of you must have seen, in the inaugural session, and today he's back to speak at this. And you must be wondering, since he's not a seafarer, but such a huge contribution that Qatar Airways has made in seafarers' lives during the COVID-19 pandemic. We will have Karthik speak today to you and tell you some of the snippets of what Qatar Airways, how they have changed seafaring lives during the pandemic. But before that, a little introduction of who Karthik is and what he does. Can we have Karthik's introduction, please?
Karthik Viswanathan is heading the Indian subcontinent region for Qatar Airways Commercial Division. He's an airline industry professional with over 22 years of experience in the field of commercial sales, distribution channels, airline revenue management, and systems. The early years of his aviation life were focused on developing and building sustainable business models, ranging from improving efficiency to cost reduction and revenue maximization. Post-transition to sales and business development, new horizons were opened, and he learned the art of balancing numbers with business relationships. Living by the mantra of "you are as good as your team," he's a firm believer in coaching, mentoring, and empowering the team to give the best and confident decision-making, business decisions, while embracing mistakes and moving forward from derived learnings. The contribution of Qatar Airways in providing chartered flights for mariners during the COVID-19 pandemic and enabling sign-on and sign-off of seafarers from ship is a monumental effort in keeping the economy running at the most challenging times. The Naval Connection warmly welcomes Karthik Viswanathan as a speaker of the FSM 2022.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and fly high with Qatar Airways, Mr. Karthik Viswanathan. Before I hand over to the moderator for today, I would like to have a big shout out for one of our mentors from Philippines, Capt. Mr. Elmer Pulumbarit. And Mr. Elmer was a speaker at our first session, first edition of the Future Skills in 2020. And he's been a great help, great support, and for us to reach out this program to all the people in Philippines and getting their help and getting seafarers involved. So Elmer, I'm sure you're listening to me now. Thank you so much from Future Skills Maritime. And now I would like to hand over this session without much delay to Captain, our moderator, Captain Shiv Halbe. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Shaukat. It is indeed a great pleasure and an honor to be moderating this session where the participants are the best in the business. Have attended the previous version of Future Skills Maritime in 2020 and have been able to attend some of the sessions yesterday. And I must confess that the benchmark has been set pretty high, and our panelists and the participants here will really need to do their best. Importantly, it's already 13:45, so we have 1 hour 15 minutes to get our act together and put on a good show. And let's remember, punctuality is the pride of princes. So we must behave like princes. The subject today is understanding needs of the seafarers. As is typical, I have also graduated into the digital age. So apart from looking at my own Webster's dictionary, I did go into Uncle Google to find out what is actually needs. And there are, of course, hundreds of definitions of needs. But the three most important ones or interesting ones that I found, including my own dictionary, was that the need is defined as a necessity or a requirement or an obligation. I think this broadly covers needs. If I am thirsty, I need a glass of water. That's what will quench my thirst, not any other types of liquids, unfortunately. If I need to stitch a button onto a shirt, I need a needle and thread. That's a requirement. And an obligation usually comes out of a relationship, legal or quasi-legal. To put it simply, a seafarer, or anybody for that matter, should be paid on a monthly basis if he is working. That's a requirement by law. So that is also translated into a need. And I was then thinking that over these last one day, and even before that, in the previous one, that the focus seems to be on the human element. We did not hear so much about technical requirements or technical skill upgradation because that's very easily identified. When the GMDSS convention came in, we created a GMDSS course, you attended the course, went for the exam, passed the exam, and there you are GMDSS certified. Same thing we did for EGDIS and similar other technical requirements. But how do you address the plethora of needs that a seafarer has? And I thought that the best way to illustrate this is to share with you an experience that I had when my initial forming days as a superintendent. I joined this company in the 90s. Somebody's screen is on. Can you? I joined this particular company, Assured, in the 1990s. And, after a couple of months, there was this sudden activity in the office where they started talking about a Christmas bonus. So I was extremely delighted. I thought I was going to get the bonus. But it turned out that it wasn't me. They were talking about a seafarer bonus in a particular fleet of ships. I was aghast. I had never, ever heard of a seafarer getting a bonus. And I also participated enthusiastically to find out how does that work. And well, the owners, this particular fleet of ships was about 10 ships. They were all tankers. And the owners had a practice that they will share their good fortune with the people who served on board, which was such a beautiful and a noble thought. They had put some conditions that you had to serve a minimum of so much time, etc., etc. And I think that's fair. What was the translation of that? That was my first introduction to what is a good owner. Not because he parted with money, because how he treated the people thereafter. Every ship, if she was not operating in Europe, this was a European owner. Every ship, whenever it visited Europe, the owner would try to make it a point to pay a visit to the ship, talk to the people on board, and he would not only go alone. Wherever possible, he took his spouse with him to make it a family event. And such small things that he did, this changed. And was he the highest paying owner in our fleet? No, not at all. He was not the maximum highest paying owner. There were other ships where the salaries were probably more in terms of dollars. And Captain Naik is here and Captain Paintal is here. And you all will remember what a challenge it used to be in the 90s to find one person to go on board a ship. We had no digital digitization. Then everything was on manual phone, faxes, etc., etc. And we did not have so much difficulty finding people to go on board these ships because I think the word had got around that they treat people well there. After 4 or 5 years, the owner decided to go public and he listed his company on the Oslo Stock Exchange. He then came back to us and said, I am having a competition in which the seafarers will write about life on board my ships on a single page, A4 page. And I will publish it. Do you know what he did? Well, the seafarers did participate. He had also announced a reward for the selection. He had a selection committee, which was not us, external committee to look into, to ascertain which was the best, the second best, and the third one, etc. He took those write-ups and he published them in his annual report to the Oslo Stock Exchange, saying, these are my assets which are not on my balance sheet. There is no way I know how to put them on my balance sheet. And he rewarded the number one prize was something worth about $100 at the time. Number two was, I think, 70, and the number three was 50. But he didn't give them cash. He gave them equivalent shares of his listed company. And he said, you are the owner of this ship now, of my company, part owner. We didn't have the facilities we have now. So I'm not sure whether any of these owners managed to attend any annual general meeting in Oslo. I can't answer that one. But after another, and one of the persons who did get this benefit was an Indian captain. He was a senior master with us. One day, a letter came, and we knew then after 4 or 5 years, there was some changing or some financial reason, and they were going to have a share buyback. We knew about that. We got a letter, and because he was a master with us, his communication used to come on the office address care of. And that's how the communication came, from the stock exchange or from the company. So one day a letter came, and the captain was informed. He was on leave. The captain was informed that there's a letter for you. Should we send it across? He said, no. He called me up. He says, I'll come across we had our office in Nariman Point then. I'll come across and I will, you buy me lunch. I said, sure, come over. He opened the letter in front of me, and the company and the stock, in the company, in the share buyback, was offering to buy back his shares at 3 times the price at which they had been issued. That was the buyback offer. So when he read it out, I said, I shouldn't be buying you lunch. You should be buying me lunch now, because for 5 years you have kept these shares. And we laughed. We had a bite. He came back to the office. I said, okay, if you want to give a reply, give it to me now, so I can send it across. He said, yeah, I thought about it, and I'm not going to take this offer. I said, do you realize that by not taking the offer, they will become worthless? Because once the offer is made, you don't take it, it's a paper now. Nothing will happen. He said, nobody in my life has ever given me a reward for what I do and acknowledged it. I want to keep that share certificate, frame it, and my grandchildren will see it, that this is what happens when you work for a good organization. Having set this tone, I want to now share with you a communication I received overnight, and I will be brave enough to share that with you. And I would ask the panelists very quickly, who do you think has sent this to me? Can you see it now? Okay, yes. Can you see it?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
You can see it, okay. I will give you, it's a very small one. I will give you 2 minutes to go through this, or 1.5 minutes. Okay? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. Can I quickly ask, who do you think sent it to me? Anybody wants to guess? Take a guess. Pardon?
The Master Mariner from Ship, Captain.
I think it might be a ex-seafarer, retired seafarer, or a union leader.
Okay, of course, I'm going to tell you. This has come from a shipowner. He is a master mariner. You're right. He is a master mariner, but he's an owner. And he employs Indian and Filipino seafarers. And he's not small. It is a fleet. And he did, when he sent me, I did call him. He's not based in India. He's based in another part of the world. when I saw that, I called him up and asked him, "Are you feeling all right?" He says, "Absolutely. What's wrong with me?" I said, "No, your communication." So, it just, having said this tone, I now invite Captain Paintal to set the ball rolling.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Captain Halbe. That was very interesting. Very, very interesting. And in fact, good examples. We always have this thing in India, one ke chako. That means band ke khao. So it is also relevant for everybody, including the ship owners or any businesses, I would say, for whom people work. First of all, of course, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and the dignitaries sharing this wonderful platform, including our seafarers all over the world. I'm honored, of course, to have been invited to share my views on this August platform. Special thanks to Captain Shaukat and his team, who have been working relentlessly to make this happen. In the past too, Captain Shaukat has organized a number of awareness programs that have added value to the maritime industry, immense value. So I would like to, first of all, congratulate the shipping industry in general and the seafarers in particular for having braved the pandemic with unparalleled resolve and courage to keep the world moving during the most challenging times in the recent history. As we all know, today, the mankind was suddenly stuck with unknown and unexpected situation affecting one and all. The real importance of the humane part of our industry came about in the form of our seafarers. My sincere gratitude to the seafarers, the administration, the round-the-clock shore support from the offices, and the logistics, especially that made the crew changes happen, especially Qatar Airways and the connection from India to Doha, the Indigo, that made it possible to sail through such storms. Of course, today, the interesting topic of our discussion, as Captain Halbe also mentioned, is understanding the needs of the seafarers. Of course, my approach to this is a fair balance between the needs, expectations of the seafarers, as well as the ship owners, as I am of the opinion that both are equally important as they make a professional team together. First, the seafarers' requirements, expectations. Captain Halbe very nicely explained the real meaning of that. And of course, myself being a seafarer and having spent about 21 years at sea, what do I aspire? What are my needs? What are my requirements? Of course, we think of secure career, the progression in the career, the work environment is also a requirement. There should be a pleasant job satisfaction there. That also takes us to the respect and appreciation. Of course, we are hardworking people on board, and everybody, likes to be respected and appreciated. Why not? Good remuneration, obviously. Good shore support, and this entails the confidence between the office and the ship. Are my concerns being addressed sincerely, truly, by the office, by the owners, or by the managers? That when that trust comes, then there is bonding. The ease of communication, of course, is another requirement these days. Of course, it's quite different from the time that we were on board, and once a month we used to stand at the gangway and arrive at the port and wait for the mails to come. That was a different enjoyment. Now, this is a modern day connectivity, the internet connectivity, which is also important for the seafarer. Again, one thing very important is the balance between the ship and the shore lives. So that is the contract periods. So that is concern. That is I would like to have as much good balance between ship and shore as possible. My also concern is when the ship owner is sending me to a particular type of vessel, I would like to be well trained in addition to my mandatory certificates and qualification. Well trained with all the requirements of that particular trade, the type of cargo, the type of ships that will make me work in more safer environments. Seafarers, of course, comprise the primary human element in the logistics chain, and a professional ship owner identifies seafarers as a prized assets and would strive to do best to provide with a secure career and employment terms as far as possible. It is a pity that there are still cases where what we hear about seafarers being exploited, which is highly deplorable. This needs to be dealt with strictest action against parent employers. I'm glad that with the implementation of MLC, the strict compliance by the administration, the unions, and the good ship owners, such malpractices are restricted. Of course, as I said, to make a healthy balance, we also look at the ship owners' requirements and expectations. The ship owner would, of course, it's something that is a commitment for the business that he's doing towards the customers, efficient running of the ships, and the competence of the people on board. The customer satisfaction directly depends on the seafarer's competence. The obligations towards cargo commitments, appropriate training certification, same as from the seafarer's point of view. For the type of cargoes, the type of trade that a ship owner has, he must have sufficient investment to train his people for this particular courses, the value-added courses, and in the type of the company culture as such. The trade, the commodities, everything. So the ship owner would want a good, positive attitude of his teams, the work ethics, as per the company culture, the true work culture, the sound health and mental health, which makes a strong team on board. Then, of course, its concern is the safety of life and safety of the ship, and responsible towards the environmental protection. So when his team on board is well qualified, trained, and professional, he can accomplish these requirements and his needs. When we respect each other's concern, then we, of course, make a trustworthy team. A good ship owner would ensure that in order to fulfill the requirements and be commercially viable, he or she would focus on identifying and filling the responsibility gaps within the seafarer and the ship owner. Of course, we have a limited time here, and it has been very, very nice, a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Captain Paintal. And you are indeed a prince. You have kept it within your time slot. Thank you for highlighting the relationship between rights and responsibilities. Yes, for someone to exercise rights, he must be responsible for his actions as well. Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will come back to you, sir. We now move on to Captain Sarmiento, all the way from Manila. Captain Sarmiento, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Halbe, and good afternoon and good day to everyone. We would like to thank the Naval Connection for having this platform and expressing our concerns, our thoughts, and our issues to be discussed accordingly. Thank you very much for your team, Captain Sukat, for having us, and it's a pleasure being a part of this momentous occasion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the world continues to battle the COVID-19 virus, the impact in the maritime industry is very evident. Seafarers have been the silent and untold heroes of this pandemic. As we rely on our seafarers to transport more than 80% of the vital goods and commodities across the globe, also, our seafarers have been the collateral victim of this pandemic. With the restriction imposed every now and then, uncertainty has been the new normal. This is the need that we had addressed since the start of the pandemic. It is being addressed at the moment In the whole industry, despite the challenges of the pandemic, we are bringing home our seafarers to their families safe and sound. This is one of the things that we are addressing, the need during the pandemic of bringing our seafarers home. It is being addressed. It is being done at the pace that we never seen before. Being far away from home, away from people you care about, dealing with tough conditions and many regulations to be in line with are just a few things our seafarers endure day by day. We have to accept that seafaring is an occupation that is exceptionally challenging by virtue of its nature. And in order for us to understand the needs of the seafarers, we have to take a holistic approach. We must look at the seafarer in the whole persona. We have to accept a seafarer first and foremost is a family man. He is also a career man. And he is also an economic being. By virtue of understanding this, we have now the idea where do we come into the needs of the seafarer. Seafarers, just like all of us, what we need is what they need, much more. We have to recognize that the life of a seafarer is a cycle that revolves around their family and the sea. Their needs would also revolve in this cycle, family and career. We then have to find ways to be part of taking care of their family, as this is the main reason why our seafarers are at sea, their family. Secondly, we then also must be part of their professional development. Seafaring is not just a job, it is a career, a chosen career. So we must be there. This is the needs, the other half of the need, the family and the career. We must be there giving their needs. Seafarers' physical and mental well-being, career growth, social stimulation is the primary consideration in understanding the needs of the seafarers. What I have just mentioned are just few of the needs that are vital to our seafarers, thereby ensuring the safe and professional operation of the maritime trade. And most of all, we overlook this. We have to recognize our seafarers as the key and vital asset of our industry. Family, career, health and well-being, to sum it up, we have to understand the needs of the seafarer in terms of their EQ, emotional quotient for their personal and family well-being, IQ, the intelligence quotient for their competence, for their career path, career development, career progression, and SQ, social quotient, for their social well-being and motivation to go on and be a part of this noble industry. Thank you all and good day.
Thank you very much, Captain Allan Sarmiento. Thank you very much for passionately bringing forth the relationship a seafarer has with his family and the sea, and the cycle. It's a great thought. The cycle, that how it works. Of course, the relationship between EQ, IQ, SQ with his personal domain. Thank you very much. We will come back to you, of course, as it progresses. Over to you, Twishi.
Thank you so much, Captain Halbe. And I would like to take a moment to thank Captain Shaukat for inviting me here to share my thoughts. And I was sitting with myself and trying to figure out what should I talk about. Definitely a few definitions came to my mind, a few explanations. But then I thought maybe I can make it a little more personal and share my interactions with other seafarers and the challenges that they've shared with me. More often than not, when the seafarers approach me, it is a moment where they feel that they're either at a breaking point or there are certain challenges which they are not being able to handle. Now, those challenges can be at a personal front or at a professional front, but it just feels so that they find it that difficult to deal with it. And we spend a moment, we talk about it, we discuss about it, and we try to go ahead with it. And suddenly, after some time, after a couple of sessions, they come to me and they tell me, you know what, Twishi, I think I'm going to do this. And this is how I'm going to solve my problems. Or this is how I'm going to deal better with these situations. And I'm going to enjoy doing it. And it takes a moment and one might think to themselves, okay, what just changed? What is different now? How is it that earlier these very challenges seemed like major problems and hurdles, and one felt that they won't be able to go past it, and now they don't? What changes in that moment is that the person gets a moment to stop, take a step back, share, express, emote, recuperate. Now you can share with a professional, you can share with a loved one, you can share with a peer, a mentor, anyone. What happens in that moment is you gather yourself, you spend some time with yourself, dust yourself off, and then move ahead. Now, what happens here is that the strength, the courage, the power that you have to deal with your challenges, which was actually hidden between all the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, the worries, maybe the sadness and other emotions, gets its chance to again come back right up. And in that moment, you find the courage, which for a moment you feel that you had lost or had misplaced, to go ahead. And that is one thing that made me realize and understand that the power and the courage lies within each one of us to deal with any challenge that we are facing. It is just that sometimes we need a moment to stop, take care of ourselves, and then move ahead. Now, here, what also comes to my mind is that we as individuals talk to ourselves. Our body talks to us. Our mind talks to us. But very often we miss it. With our body, it might escalate in terms of aches and pains or a fever. And then you might realize, okay, this is not right. Maybe I need to do something about it. At the same time, our mind talks to us as well. It talks to us in terms of feelings, in terms of emotions, in terms of thoughts. And when these feelings, emotions, and thoughts become very recurring, and we realize we're not being able to put them at bay or deal with them, it is actually our mind talking to us and telling us, like, hey, pay a little more attention to me, and I'll be fine. Or spend a little time with me, and I think we can move ahead from there. When, as individuals, we start listening to ourselves, we start listening to what our body is saying to us, and we start listening to what our mind is telling us, it actually amplifies the strength that we already have to deal with any challenge whatsoever. The field you're in, as much as I would definitely agree that it is challenging and there are a lot of uncertainties, but there's a lot you can enjoy in it as well. But when the problems and the challenges feel bigger than us, they feel that they're overpowering, it becomes difficult to enjoy the very first few reasons why you are in this profession. And lastly, what I would like to say is that what I have noticed is that there is immense power in sharing. You can share it with yourself, you can share it with your peers, your mentor, or your family members. But the moment you share your thoughts, your emotions, you realize that in this battle, you're not alone. There's always going to be there. Someone's always going to be there standing right by you to support you. And I think this thought, this want to help seafarers and this attachment that I have for seafarers, I share it with Captain Shaukat. And this is why, like he mentioned, we've thought about coming together, collaborating, and planning the best possible ways to support our seafarers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Twishi. I can assure you, you will have a lot of questions with what you have explained. It said a healthy mind and a healthy body go together. So just as physical fatigue is a manifestation of a physical problem, but it need not be true. It could be a manifestation of a mental problem also. So you will have some questions on this. I can see them coming. We now move over to Captain Aakriti. Though she is a Marine Superintendent, but She just got off a ship barely a year and a half ago. So her boots are still very, very wet. Over to you, Aakriti.
Thank you, Captain Halbe. When this topic came, need of the seafarer, it took me 2 days to sink into the thought what actually is the need of the seafarer. Like Captain Halbe said, the first thought that came in my mind was about the old seafarers, the old captains that I've sailed with. You know, he'll be a robust, rough and tough looking guy, a no nonsense type of a person who will be probably be with a bear. But then I thought of my batchmates, us, our colleagues who were like, the full type of seafarer with all branded type of items, iPhone, MacBook Pro, everything they have. And they are with, the latest gadgets. And one eye is on the egg dish, the second eye is on the calendar looking, okay, how many biryanis are left on board. So the need has changed. I've sailed with captains who were sailing for 11 months and they had not even a shrink into their eyebrow where they, they had the feel to go home. Their duty was important. Their priorities were important. But then I've sailed with my counterparts who were like 4 months and they wanted to go back home. Now we come in the situation since 2019 where COVID, this pandemic has hit us, and the need has again started changing. The look up for the need of the seafarer has changed. Where I could think the first and the foremost, and I am talking on the after this topic came, I conducted a survey online on an online platform to see what actually our seafarer needs. And there is a portal, online portal, where it took me 5 days to come out with the survey. And I will tell you 65% of the inclination was towards where I got messages from the people stating that, a timely sign off is something which we are looking for. And timely sign off is one of the, it was out of 350, 375 people. There were 170 people who wrote that, a timely sign off, timely repatriation. That came into my mind. Okay, maybe it is because of this pandemic where people are made to do 8-9 months. Then there was a group of people who were like, we want better connectivity. We want good internet connection with no bars and no limits of internet, a good connectivity. So that would be an added advantage to sail and comfortable advantage to sail with. I know internet on board has its own pros and cons, where if in case of some incidents and anything where we don't want it to go out of the constraint of the ship goes out before we even come to know it comes from the social platform. But that is where the pros cons are. But yes, it was needed, and there are people who are like, I feel a timely sign on, sign off, and then a better connectivity is what is needed. Then I'll take something from Twishi, what Twishi said about mental health. We need to recognize mental health issues on board, and that can be done by implementing physical and mental well-being plan or wellness programs. And if we see now, companies are initiating and they are recognizing mental health also an issue. This was the elephant of the room which was kept into the dark, and we are trying to bring it out. Yes, there are mental issues that's happening. So there are well-being plans where crew is and crew, the human element is based on these wellness plans, where the well-being of the crew on board is considered. We have one-to-one point system where the crew can contact. Companies are coming up where they can contact somebody if they have issues like this. And Twishi, there are people, Twishi and other people who are helping us for us to recognize what our seafarers are going through. The one more point is the need is to foster a culture that supports and addresses concerns of seafarers. It includes a complaint procedure on board that is easy, understandable, and anonymous, including a resolution date and guarantees of no retaliation of any kind. So all seafarers should have that right, and they should be empowered enough, and they should know their complaint procedures. They should know what are the grievances procedures, and yes, they should have that feeling that there is somebody, waiting, listening to them, and there is a sense of empathy for the person who is there waiting for them. So That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Captain Aakriti. Yes, spoken absolutely like a seafarer. I will have some questions for you for sure, but don't worry. It is for the benefit of all, including my own learning. We now move on to Captain Mohan Naik. And over to you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain Shiv Halbe. First of all, a very big thanks to Captain Shaukat and his team at the Naval Connection for inviting me to speak at this August seminar and sharing the dais with these well-known and educated audience. Also, the topic for today is a very important one from the point of view of both the seafarers as well as the owners. Captain Paintal has started the ball rolling with the correct balance of what is supposed to be the owner's viewpoint also. It's not only a single-sided play, it's a double-sided play, so we have to look at both the angles. Twishi on her own has highlighted the mental issues very well. Captain Allan also has spoken well about various quotients, what is needed to look at the ethos of the seafarer. And of course, Captain Aakriti, being a recently sailing master, has highlighted all the important points. So what I'm going to speak now is basically maybe look like old wine in new bottle, but nevertheless, I'll try to put across some new things which I feel need to be highlighted as the needs of the seafarers today. So I'm going to share the screen with you now with a small presentation, which will get to know, first of all, with some general points, and then with the basic and the advanced needs of the seafarers. So here you are. Okay. Are you able to see the screen? Okay, good. That's the topic for today. Thank you. So there are some general observations which I've seen over the period of years when I was sailing as well as when I was in the management. Now in the top management also, I'm not really insulated with what is happening. So these are the observations which keep coming and going, but some of them are here to stay. The first one, 75 years back, hardly a few million tons was moving. And now last year, the movement was 15 billion metric tons per year, maybe 17 billion. So this entails a whole lot of new things which have happened. That is, ship seafarers have increased, but manpower per ship has decreased. Everybody agrees to that. How have we looked at it realistically? With manpower less, ships and seafarers increasing, are we doing justice to the seafarers who are actually operating the ships? Thirdly, our industry does not have the positive media exposure it rightly needs. What the media shows most of the time is disasters. Something like a Wakashio, something like a Ever Given, something like a Exxon Valdez. That's the time when our industry is highlighted, and that gives a huge negative publicity to our industry. And cascading effect is on the seafarer, because the seafarer bears the brunt of it, maybe a captain or a chief engineer, or even down the line, the ratings. So does it really entail positive feedback to would-be seafarers when they try to join this shipping industry as a career? Does it really help in it? Solutions are many, but I think what is needed is investment in positive media. Companies should get together so that investment in positive media is done. Not only disasters, we need to show also everybody all over the world what seafarers, what ships are actually doing. One of the ways this has been done is through webinars like this, where we are disseminating information about what the positive things the companies and the shipping community as one does. We see now there is a huge differences of training on board and ashore. Different companies have different training on board. Different companies, other companies have more training. Some companies have less training. Some companies come to some via media about training. And this is what leads to a seafarer who goes or changes a company from one to another, a huge gap in what learning is required when he's going to serve his role on a new company, or even when he gets promoted in a different role. So what training he is supposed to receive, not only STCW, but company specific training also. there is a huge gap between various companies, various nationalities, because STCW is only the benchmark. We have to go beyond that. What we see now is we need a guy or a lady seafarer who goes on board and says that, look, I'm able to take over. Have we come to that? I don't think that stage has come. The training uniformity is not there. Therefore, expectation on board also takes time for the person to actually take the reins in his hand and then start behaving as a proper trained officer on board, or a rating for that matter. Some basic needs of the seafarers, which has been repeated, but again, for the record, I would like to put it on here. Recognition by the society at large. Yesterday, Captain Suneha Gatpande talked about this, and I was very happy to note, at least somebody has noticed this, that there is a huge disparity in what the society looks at seafarers when they are on leave, for example. Oh, what is my husband doing? वो तो अभी छुट्टी पे आया है, वो घर में बैठे हुए हैं, कुछ काम करते नहीं है. That means he is sitting at home, doesn't do much. Now he is waiting to go back on a ship. This is the kind of image society has about merchant shipping. Try to compare it with an army officer, for example, which Suneha highlighted yesterday, or even our fighting navy for that matter, or even the doctors, the nurses who are at the forefront. They are recognized. But why the seafarers are not recognized by the society at large? This gap again can be filled up by proper dissemination of information, by the companies getting together. We have, of course, International Shipping Federation, we have the IMO, but it doesn't reach across. The voice is not reaching all across the world. So we need to do something about this. Comparison with other key workers leading from the front. The COVID pandemic really taught us this time that where the seafarers are they recognized? How much time it got to recognize that they are key workers, they're working from the front. It took a long time for them to be recognized like that. Even now, what facilities are there at terminals for signing on, signing off? Sometimes they are treated like pariahs. Just because he's, suppose one guy has become COVID positive, for example, he's made into a scapegoat and he's kept across in a small isolation ward, and there his plight is, well, God will help, something like that. So there is no uniformity in how seafarers are being treated in comparison to doctors, nurses, our frontline workers compared to that. We need to look at it again. Facilities on board, of course, a whole lot of things have been already said about it. The internet on board, good food, safety, water, quality of accommodation, gymnasium, all that, shore leave facilities, all that has already been said. One of the important ones which has been highlighted is about the internet. Internet is a must-have thing on board now. It has its pros and cons. It has been spoken about it earlier. You cannot use it on the bridge. You cannot misuse it. You cannot just go in your rest hours, waste your rest hours by looking at the internet and then causing incidents and accidents on board. You cannot divert a ship to get a good signal, and with the risk of running aground. Case in point recently. Timely reliefs already spoken about. I'll not say more about it. COVID really tested this to the limits. However, our seafarers really proved themselves that they were up to this, and they continued to be on board 2 to 3 months extra without much ado. They of course, the families were missing them, etc. But still, they rose up to the occasion. Competitive wages and in-time payment. Work and rest hours, many times this is mismanaged on board. This has to be looked into very carefully. Solution to this, there has to be a proper ISM procedure, which is to be actually in spirit and not just on paper. Needs on specialized ships. There are many ships which operate in various regions, like we have ships which operate in the Arctic for months together with -40 degrees centigrade. That there are some needs of the seafarers on these ships which are to be looked at very minutely. In fact, we asked them, for the superintendents to go on board, to actually have a look at what kind of a condition is the seafarers, what's happening to them on board with this kind of a aggressive atmosphere and aggressive environment, natural environment, which is prevailing above 62 degrees north. Training and mentoring. This is again a point where how to do this carefully with less manpower, increased paperwork. How are we going to train and mentor? I have my views on this. I say, why not? The superintendent who goes on board starts training people properly. He's not only there for as a person who's doing audits, or he's also doing some kind of troubleshooting. He should also be trained to start taking over, maybe an engine superintendent, maybe a deck superintendent. Why not he start doing training and mentoring on board? Don't leave everything to chief officer, master, chief engineer. They are all their own, the cups are full with the work today. Some advanced needs now. Abandonment of seafarers, of course, with the RPSL in place, the audits of RPSL in place, things are a little bit better than what it was, but still this is happening. And this is here to stay, because there are still many unscrupulous agents who have the proper licensing. Seafarers go on board, and then they are left high and dry, wages are not paid, ships are left, to a large extent, this has been curtailed in India, but there are still cases where abandoned seafarers are happening with different flags of ships. There is some benefits of CIP, which is supposed to be coming into force soon, but that is a debatable point, which is left for some other day. Okay. Criminalization of seafarers, we have seen that time and again. Some drugs are found in a container, ship is held up, master is arrested. Master doesn't have X-ray eyes to see what is there in the container. Just an example. Of course, there are many times where the seafarers themselves may be at fault. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about a bill of lading. The manifest says something else. And what about the seaway bill, something else? But the master is again criminalized for what he had no powers to see what is happening there. Many such cases. People languishing in prison because of wrong declaration by the shipper, or smuggling happening. Career progression, many nationalities, they prefer their own ships, and they do not give a proper career progression to a seafarer who are on board of different nationalities. I don't want to give examples. All of us are aware that in many companies, only certain nationalities are preferred for career progression. The other ones have to look at some other place. So that doesn't give a sense of loyalty. Sense of loyalty to seafarers is needed when they can also sit in the office. And they, after a master or chief engineer, they're allowed to take up proper office jobs, or even when they're on leave, they can sit in the office and look at how the company is functioning. Open and continuous communication with the shore staff through seminars, through nowadays webinars, and also I would say social media. Why not social media? Nothing wrong with WhatsApp. Although many people, it's a senior generation, they frown at WhatsApp. WhatsApp message has come for my relief directly from the seafarer. You should go through the master. Okay, fine, you have to go through the master, but don't ignore such messages. Put it on record, answer those messages. See that the seafarer gets a personal touch. So WhatsApp is here to stay, WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever you want to call it. It is here to stay. You have to live with it. If you ignore it, you're going to lose that personal touch. So you should have open and continuous communication with the shore staff, agreed through the master, through the chief engineer, but don't ignore such communication on social media. It leads to disillusionment with the shore. World Law Administration to give more tick to the MLC mandates. This is very difficult to implement. Some countries are doing it better. Some countries are doing somewhat near the benchmark, but we need more work on this. Shore staff and management of companies to be more responsive to floating staff needs. One of the ways of doing it is employ more seagoing staff in the shore management. We have operators sometimes who have never seen a ship. They have just gone through graduation and they've come and start operating ships and telling the master, why are you not taking such and such route, without knowing that that route is going over some shallow patches, etc. We have had cases like that because he's a graduate, he's an MBA, and he sits as an operator. Why? When you have good talent with you, promote these masters, chief engineers to the ship, to the shore, and let them take over the reins as responsible operators or responsible marine staff or responsible superintendents for that matter. That's it from me. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Captain Naik. Thank you very much for an in-depth analysis. I hand over to the technical team for a short video. Thank you very much. We now hand over to Mr. Karthik of Qatar Airways, an airline which some of us worked extremely closely with during those. I hope they never come back again. but yes, over to you, Karthik.
Thank you, Captain Halbe. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. We don't want to see such times again, but it taught us a lot of things. Firstly, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to people who've connected around the globe. To start with, wishing you all a great 2022. Looking forward to this year. Hope whatever we've seen, we don't get to see that, but we have a lot of learning. A special thank you note to Captain Shaukat and the Naval Connection. Captain Shaukat, thank you so much for letting Qatar Airways be part of this event, 2-day conference. We've always been discussing with our marine partners only when it comes to transporting of the passengers. Nothing in depth. It's given a whole lot of in-depth view for us as to what this industry is all about. So for that, we'll be eternally grateful. To the fellow panelists and the industry experts, looking forward to this engagement in future as well, even though it doesn't have to be through this conference. It helps us learn about the industry. And now coming back to this subject of understanding the needs, Captain Halbe, as you rightly pointed out, the definitions of needs, and as the other panelists also mentioned, needs are always ever evolving. Even for us, the wants and desires of yesterday have become the needs of today, and they will continue to engage and become the needs of tomorrow, whatever we desire today. And our endeavor is always to ensure that the desires are delivered to our customers as of today, so that we set and continue to set these benchmarks for our other industry players. And it's a way of showing our gratitude to this industry. For us, marine industry and offshore is part of essential services. We'll continue to behave in a way and respect this industry moving forward. It's a long-standing relation for us. We will ensure that our endeavor to come up with new ideas, initiatives, and make this journey worthwhile for our marine passengers to be a lot more based on their desires rather than today's needs. Just to start, I mean, I'd like to take back a couple of years where something that we were not prepared for, the pandemic, which started in March. Air travel was shut in 2020 in March. And that's when we embarked on a journey where we said, as an airline, it is our duty and moral responsibility to continue operating, where some of our other partners or other airlines had stopped operating. We took that as a responsibility on us to continue operating, and we are very happy to state that we never stopped operating our aircrafts during the entire pandemic. Marine segment is one of the most important segments for us as an airline in India and also in Southeast Asia and globally. We've been dealing with this industry for the longest period that I'm aware of. My stint with Qatar Airways in the commercial team has been 2 years, and we've always been engaging with the partners. I still remember May 2020 when we got the first requirement for a charter for seafarers, and we never thought that magnitude is going to be so enormous, where by end of 2020, we had operated 140 charters. We had carried more than 500,000 seafarers on our flights across the globe, which was the need of the hour. I have a special thank you note for DG Shipping, FOSMA, MASSA, our other partners, and the Indian Embassy in various countries around the globe to ensure that they made this happen. All right. It was such a large project that we never thought was feasible, but I think it was only because of sheer commitment from everyone that we could make this happen. We understood the needs of our partners, seafarers. We set up 24/7 support unit for this 6 months to ensure that we don't leave any passenger behind. With the ever evolving, changing rules and regulation of entry and exit in every country, I mean, it was just an exponential challenge for us, but I'm glad that we were able to come out of it. And I agree with Captain Halbe. We don't want to see this ever, but it was a learning for us. We just want to keep this as a learning, not for future reference. I just hope that day doesn't come, at least during our lifetime. We also understood the needs because, as I said, the needs are ever evolving. The desires had become the needs. We wanted to make sure that our partners confide in us, they consider us as partners, and they have the confidence in that even if government or countries close borders, their money is protected, their passengers are safe. We came up with the first ever flexible policies to ensure that during these testing times, the least we could do for our partners is to ensure that their money is safe. Safety protocol took the center stage, and we were the industry first to implement some of these safety protocols across the airline industry, be it using of Honeywell ultraviolet cabin safety system, or to the first touch-free in-flight entertainment system where allowing passengers to use their mobile devices to navigate through channels. And in March 2021, we also became the first airline in the Middle East to trial the IATA travel pass. And we will continue to embark on this journey to ensure that we use technology to be market leaders. Last but not least, reliability is the most important factor, and that's something that has been forefront from the time Qatar Airways has started operations. We focus highly on reliability, be it during pandemic or be it the recent event that happened with the US 5G network. We as an airline decided that we are not going to stop operations. We continue to operate, and that is our commitment to our customers, that no matter where they are, if they are traveling with us, one thing for sure, that they will reach their destination. Lastly, to showcase our gratitude for this industry, Qatar Airways is the first airline in the industry to come up or open a marina lounge dedicated for our marine our hub, Hamad International Airport. It's a complimentary lounge for only marine and offshore passengers. They can walk into the lounge, they can use all the benefits that they are, and it's our way of showing our gratitude. We continue to embark on this journey. Whatever we can to deliver for our marine passengers, we will. And I wish you all the best. Looking forward to this engaging session, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Karthik. Yes, the Mariner Lounge is a big hit, and I can share this with you that some of my friends who joined a ship in South Africa called me up from Doha and said, "I'm enjoying luxury of the lounge." I said, "Okay, enjoy." So I guess a happy seafarer when he's joining makes a difference. We have now barely 17 minutes left to conclude our session, and we have a lot of questions. I won't be reading out the question word to word because I'll try to cover more than one aspect in that question, so that it may be a combination of two questions. One question I have is that just as the sea staff have to undergo a number of courses before they embark on board a ship or before they get qualified, what is the sort of training required for the shore staff to take up their positions ashore? Who would, Captain Naik, would you like to answer that one? Captain Aakriti, you did touch very briefly on this on a little different way.
Yeah. Should I give my few points here?
Yeah, sure.
Since you asked me this question, it all depends upon what department he's joining, first of all. If he is going to be completely raw hand from the university, of course he will need a lot of training. Of course, there will be a lot of gaps in training to be filled up. However, if he's an ex-seafarer, a senior seafarer, the gap will be less. And of course, he'll have to undergo some training. He'll have to understudy the guy who is going to be probably he'll be replacing or he'll be deputing for some time with him. So the training has to be very important in that case because he'll be controlling a part of the fleet himself. Yes, training is needed.
Yeah. I have a corollary to this to Captain Aakriti then. You would have heard, and many of us have heard and have spoken, that when I was sailing, it was. Do you think this phrase should be banned?
We are bringing our experience from sea. So I don't think so it should be banned. Yes, it does get boring at times. But when somebody is saying when we were sailing, they are bringing their experience from there. So it is, we should just grab the experience, rest less and rest leave. So it's
True,
just
true.
experience they are getting.
Because in our profession, like in many other professions also, experience and time go hand in hand. Without time you don't get experience. Even in our profession, activities will give you experience, but in our profession it's a bit. A question for Captain Paintal I have is, do seafarers need to develop different skills for different companies based on ship types? You did touch upon this briefly.
Yes, I did touch upon this right from the seafarers' point of view also, and also from the owner's point of view. So what ship owners? So it is very important, I would say. See that there are statutory, as per the STCW, everybody goes through that. There is certification, there is courses, the mandatory courses. That is one, that is to get the qualification for a particular job. But the other part of it is there are different types of vessels, as also Captain Mohan just mentioned about the Arctic vessels. A person who's coming from a normal bulk carrier and he has to go to the Arctic vessel. So for that, the ship owner, a good ship owner, has a lot of money invested in the training part of it also. That training, of course, is with respect to the type of the vessel, the trade, from the safety point of view, and from the commercial, I would say the cargo point of view, the commitment towards the customers. So that from that point of view, it is very important for a specific training for any particular ship. Like in the aviation sector, it is very much demarked. A pilot who has to go from a 737 and going to the 777 aircraft, he has to do a 6 months simulation and courses and all that. In our case, it is not practical to have that much, but we do have company-specific trainings, which I think is very important for the seafarer himself from the safety point of view. For example, coming from a simple gantry, crane ship to a gantry ship. So we have something called the crane simulator course. So crane courses. So he goes through that. So he comes to know the safety aspect of it. He comes to know what can go wrong. So those things are very important, I would say, for any type of different type of vessels and trades. And if a person is changing a company, he must go through that, and the ship owner or the management company should ensure that he's properly trained for that specific job.
Thank you, Captain Paintal. Yes, you did explain it in detail. A question for Twishi. What preparations from a mental health perspective should a seafarer do before he is joining a ship?
That's a wonderful question. I think it's always good to be prepared beforehand than to go there and then be faced with the challenges and prepare them. So I think I'd have a two-part answer for this question. What makes us whole is our physical and our mental self. And both these aspects of us always rely on each other. They go hand in hand. So what happens is that if at an emotional or a mental level I'm dipping, my physical self comes forth and helps me lift myself up and deal with the challenges. And at the same time, if at a physical or a mental, if at a physical level I'm dipping, my mental and my emotional health will come up and help me deal with it. So now if I'm speaking at an emotional and a mental level, what one can do is that I have this trick with my clients is that it's called worry time. So in the day, whatever thoughts come to you, which could be a matter of concern, worry, confusion, or doubt, don't think about it the whole day. I know it's a tough thing to do, but it's better not to, because it's just a passive thought which goes around, but you're not actually able to look for solutions. Instead, take a tiny diary, note it down. Note down, it can be the same thought 20 times, it can be 20 different thoughts. Make a note of all those thoughts and have a designated hour, just 30 minutes, in fact, have designated 20 to 30 minutes just to deal with these thoughts. Maybe you're able to deal with all at one go in those 20, 30 minutes. Maybe you're not, but use a timer and stop at dot 30 minutes. So now this should be somewhere in the middle of the day, not in the beginning or in the end of the day. where you sleep with that thought or you wake up with that thought, but somewhere in the middle of the day where you spend 30 minutes with these thoughts. And after those 30 minutes, you do some recreational activity or something light. Now, why this trick actually helps is because instead of those thoughts, those worries, those anxieties or fears or stresses lingering in your head, you're actually giving yourself designated 30 minutes to deal with them. And if you will notice, once you keep practicing, it might need a little more effort in the beginning, but eventually you will realize that you yourself, when you sit with your thoughts and give it that due consideration, that time, that effort, and the value and importance it needs, you yourself will be able to realize, okay, maybe these are the challenges I'm facing and I need to work on it. Okay, this is something that is just not helping me, so I need to discard it. Oh, these are my strengths and they've helped me in such tough situations and moments. Let me hold on to them. So here what happens at a mental level, you're already preparing for what's to come. And eventually you'll realize that you will see a pattern in your thought process. You will see a pattern in your challenges. And when you start picking up on those patterns, you will have a list of patterns with you and you will know, okay, this is my pattern in these taxing and challenging situations. This is how I behave. So let me try and see how I can prepare tips of my own to deal with it. So this is at a mental level. Now, at a physical level, to support yourself, one thing I always tell my clients is that please be physically active. It can be something as simple as going for a brisk walk for 45 minutes, but do that. Now, why I'm specifically saying 45 minutes is because in the first 30 minutes, when you're brisk walking, your brain is getting ready to release the hormones. And after those 30 minutes, however long you walk, those hormones, like I call them the happy hormones, those hormones are released in your body. And those hormones actually stay with you the entire day. They have the power to stay with you for almost 24 hours. So now, no matter how challenging the situation is, or it could be, you're already pumping your body with the right kind of hormones in order to deal with it and in order to be in a better frame of mind to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a question for Captain Sarmiento. Many companies have a good blend of multinational officers on board a ship. And they believe it is a good thing. So in your experience, does the teamwork increase when you have a blend of, say, Indian and Filipino working together on board? Or is it that you have only Indians or only Filipinos, you have, in your experience, found it to be a better solution?
Yeah, based on my experience, actually, the mixture of nationality on board ships, depending on the owners or the principal itself. But mostly, I have been with mixed crew. This is quite effective. We just have to deal with the language barrier. Okay. But our job is a universal thing. We do not much need language. We do this by our thoughts and by our professionality, what we've learned and what we will apply, because the job on board is universal, from captain down to our messman or to our cadet. And mixture of nationality, not always, on business period, not always that successful. But during those times, during my times, but nowadays, our education, English, push up with our studies, made it better. But every nationality is mixed. It depends on how much we train our people in order to face the multicultural facet of the onboard gestures of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. But I guess it's a lot of individual also. Some actually prefer to work in multinational because they find it more comforting, because they do not carry any baggage on board. There is no stereotyping. They do believe that. While in some cases, they like to have their own nationality because a lot of cultural issues get automatically taken care of. Food habits, very simple thing, but they get taken care of. I think it's I think each one to himself, or it's a company culture.
Yes.
A question for Captain Naik and Captain Aakriti and Captain Paintal. When a contract with the seafarer is signed, it always has a plus or minus 1 month, 1 month clause. But it's always plus 1 month whenever sign-off is asked for. The minus disappears. Yeah, please, Captain Paintal. No, you're mute, Captain. Captain Paintal, you're mute.
I said I can just be a three of us, but I can start the answer. I know. See, at times, barring the COVID situation now, where most of the companies, most of us, we do not have any options for or very restricted areas where we can do the crew changes. So that, in spite of that, of course, the intention is to do it everything on time. But it has, I must admit, it is there most of the times over the plus 1 month, and this thing very rightly said. But in normal circumstances, as per our, at least the company policy, is to relieve everybody on time and not to linger on, because we have the other person also waiting. And we have a system of dedicated people on the ships. And so it is not so relevant for us. But of course, these days it is happening beyond our control.
Captain Aakriti, do you want to add, disagree?
I'll go with Captain Paintal. This time after 2019, yes, we are seeing seafarers helping us out, staying on board for more than their period. But above and beyond that, yes, plus 1 month, we can say there are many factors. One of being budget, where manning contributes to 65%. And yes, they do want to save some part. So that one plus one, they try to save on the budget. But that is one of the factors. And yes, there are many getting an individual, proper individual, and then the lineup. It goes to plus 1 month. It is on the safer side for both the parties.
Captain Aakriti. Sorry, yes, Captain Naik.
Okay, I just wanted to say that ships are not like railways or airlines. They have a schedule which can change a lot. But normal circumstances, yes, we relieve within the 4 months. But COVID has now changed the whole situation upside down. So time schedule is for that. Ships do not reach ports at a particular time. 4 months, 4 months cannot reach. That's right.
But I would just like to sum it up, saying that what Akriti also mentioned about it. When at the time of planning for leaves and all that, that plus 1 month is never considered from the cost point of view, budget point of view. It is never intentional. Plus 1 month. So our main concern about the crew changes is to relieve, but the main focus is to relieve on time. So it does happen plus 1 month. At times we have done it before also, minus 1 month at times.
True. We have. I mean, my personal experience would be, I'll be inclined to agree with you. It is not necessarily plus. But delays are always highlighted, just as Captain Naik pointed out about the media and the issue with media. You will always have people groaning when they spend a few days more, but very seldom would you get a nice email saying, thank you very much for relieving me for my sister's marriage or brother's marriage. You don't get that mail. It is unfortunate. It cuts both ways. True. A question I have for Twishi, and this is because of the COVID. Over the past 2 years with this COVID, the need for the awareness of seafarers' mental health has actually taken center stage, and the need for counseling and such activities. Now, the problem why it took place, because the ships were still operating like before, that is not changed. But the movement of seafarers got restricted very drastically. They could not join a ship, they could not get off a ship, they could not get medical facilities. These were the 2 or 3 primary things that happened. Now look at it this way. If I am having road accidents, the solution is not to build better hospitals. The solution is to repair the road. So if we have a problem with crew relief, then how can counseling be the solution? You have to make crew relief facility easiest. Why are we doing that?
Right. I think it's a very beautiful question, because here what comes into light is our resilience. The challenge can be something that needs to be taken care of at a technical level. The company, the agents, they will all be the ones trying to take care of the challenge, helping you go home. If the country that you're at is in a lockdown, then you actually can't do anything else about it. But what that does is that it fills the person with a self of helplessness, hopelessness. You have a set pattern in your mind. I was supposed to be on board for 6 months. Now it has become 7 months. Now it's becoming 8 months. Now what happens in this moment is that though counseling is not going to solve the problem, but what it's going to do is that it is going to give you the strength to battle the problems that are coming your way. Now, in this moment, you become stronger to deal with and to take care of the challenges that are coming. Also, at the same time, what happens is that a lot of emotions and stresses keep getting bottled up. And when that happens, there comes a moment where you would have seen that people are acting out or acting in a manner which they've never done before. I've had people tell me that, oh, he or she would never act like this. I don't know what's wrong with them. Why are they behaving like this now? We're all facing the same trouble. We're all facing the same challenge. We've all been stuck for plus n number of months. Why is this person acting out? What happens is that when you go seek counseling, it can be, you can come to a professional and seek therapy, or you can speak to your peers and have a vent there on board itself. It helps you to detox, it helps you to vent, it helps you to recuperate, and it helps you to again, lift yourself up and move ahead. It's something like falling down. When you fall down, okay, fine, let's take a moment, test my ground, now it's stable, get up, dust myself, check for wounds, and heal it and move ahead. At the same time, emotionally, when you fall down, the ground might not still be steady. But if you have someone's hand to hold on to so that you can get back up, it gives you the power to be able to do it again.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, indeed. It is about time that mental health issues are at the center stage, just as physical health issues are. And it's just taken far too much time, and especially in the maritime sector. There's no question about it. And maybe even socially. Captain Aakriti, you touched briefly, and so did Captain Naik, actually, touched briefly on the use of internet or availability of internet and other communication on board. Yes, with the sign of the times, it needs to be there. There is no question about it. However, should there not be, or should there be some sort of a control over this method of over this social media? The reason why I'm asking this question is that you may have seen somebody, or some of you may have seen, there was a hilarious video of seafarers dancing on the main engine unit on a song called Gangnam Style. I laughed my guts out when I saw that. But I was having a hard time trying to explain that to my family. They thought that seafarers are, that's all they do. Frankly, I think it has something to do with awareness and responsibility. What would be your take on that? And so does Captain Naik.
I'll take extract from Captain Naik, where he said that yes, we need internet, but yes, there have to be restrictions on board. That it should not be used on bridge, should not, come in between your rest hours. And what Captain Halbe said about the engine unit song. Nowadays, even I am seeing YouTube. Many of the seafarers have come up with their channel where they are posting from bridge. It has become a concern, a safety concern, and yes, a concern. But that is where master's discretion comes, where he can put up rules, where Captain Naik very well defined it, that yes, we have to have restrictions on board. That look, you cannot use phone or internet when you are on your watches or bridge winds premises of the bridge. It should not liaise with your rest hours. Your rest hours should be complied with. And obviously, there have been times where incidents and accidents that have occurred on ship. It comes to us well before it comes from the captain, it comes through the social media. If somebody has already posted it on Twitter, there is a Facebook or WhatsApp group that's trending with that message. So that all needs to be stopped, and those restrictions have to come. There has to be a defined guidelines onto that. Yes, we have to be strict on that, but on those basis, we cannot stop internet. We cannot say that because this is happening, internet needs to be stopped. We need to come out. We need to come out with solutions. Maybe defined guidelines onto the use of internet on board. But there is no reason. Yesterday also during the second last session or last session, I heard somebody state that seafarers don't need internet. You get unnecessary information from the family. Information that's not required, and you cannot do anything because your profession is like that. But that is no reason for us not to get internet. Means for us, means for the
There
seafarers.
is a true, but there is a somewhat. I mean, finally, there is a fine balance. I mean, even now you and I work ashore, and I think our homes are maybe hardly 10 kilometers away from where we work, and today maybe you're working from home also. So you really can't be so family bound, because let's remember, we are unique, but we are not that unique that you don't have to go from home. There's so many professions where you have to leave home and go. Okay, so let's not forget that we are part of the same ecosystem. I mean, we have the army, which is based in the border areas, and they are going through a far tougher time than we go through. We have at least rights. They don't have any rights here. Let's be real. So, or when you see the police force, which has to come out on the streets when certain processions in our country come out and certain events take place, it's a taxing position. So of course, we must acknowledge the use and our profession, but at the same time, we can't be treating everybody like a spoiled child. It should not be. There has to be some mixed balance somewhere we must hit.
Absolutely. I'll just add one thing. Best discipline is self-discipline. However, you can train a person only up to a certain extent. That self-discipline sometimes goes for a 6. Training will help. Training in soft skills. What use of internet. Talking about social media, there has been also some selfies being taken by junior officers on the edge of the forecastle gunwale. Ship which is underway at full speed. I mean, come on, what are you trying to do? It's a daredevil stunt. So all these type of things had to be curtailed at the training maybe at the pre-C level. They must be taught. That's it.
True. Okay,
Captain,
I think
I'll just finish it off with one point. Grass is greener on the other side. So people who are sitting on ship, they think they have better family relationship with the wife is back home, and talking on phone is like all lullaby and everything. But when they come ashore, they realize, no, that was all a misconception. So let them enjoy that phase. I feel they should enjoy it. Okay, that happiness if they are getting, and their mental peace is there, talking to their family and other things is good enough.
nobody should. They cannot be denied that. If there is technology available, it's affordable. Why not? It should be. I don't see any reason why you or I can talk to someone I want from here and they can't. Why not? But there is a balance. Yeah, you can't do it on the bridge or in the engine room, or when you're on forward stations, you shouldn't be on the phone to someone.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, we have passed our time. We are now almost 9 past 1500 hours, and it has been a very exhilarating experience interacting with you, and I sincerely hope that the audience also believes so. All the eminent speakers here have put forth the various aspects that govern the needs of the seafarers and what should be done. At the same time, there is a bit of a gap between the cup and the lip, simply because many of the things are not in our control. And as the commercials would say, we are not market makers, we are market takers. So itineraries of the ships are unknown, yes, unfortunately. But at the same time, there are ships with known itineraries too. It's not that all the ships operate like that. Some do operate on like a railway service, some particular segment of the business, in fact. But there are their own challenges. And but if it was not challenging, it wouldn't be an industry, then it would be life. It is very simple. It's a 9 to 5 thing, which it is not. And so there are certain benefits. However, one factor that certainly does stick out is that the awareness of our profession and our contribution to society in general is totally missing. And somewhere we need to try to address that. I will share with you, I am part of an organization called the Company of Master Mariners, and we are trying to create some awareness about this by trying to get our Honorable President and Prime Minister to include the seafarers in their national address on 26th of January and 15th of August. They thank the society makers like the farmers, the scientists, the doctors, the armed forces, the security agencies. Generally, it is a custom that they will thank them for their services to the nation. And it is rightly so. We must thank them. We are indebted to them. So we are trying to say, please include the seafarers and the port workers, because they are the ones who run 80% of your trade. So it's not only the seafarers, it should be all the stakeholders. I mean, it will not be right to only single out the seafarers. So I will seek on that note, your efforts and contribution to that effort. Word must go now on for the efforts of Qatar Airways in last year's pandemic. If I was told that I will be interacting with any airline company for chartering of aircraft, I would not have believed it myself in 2019. That it is a very far-fetched thought. Other than buying a ticket to travel, there was nothing more I would have had to do with the airlines. But it was indeed a pleasure. And Mr. Karthik, from the seafarers' point of view, I have at least then received calls from seafarers about your mariner lounge, and that they would insist that book them on Qatar Airways. That's because they get looked after. And it's a small thing. I mean, it must be a big thing in setting up the infrastructure, but it's such a small thing that for a 2-hour transit, he can just walk in, get himself a cup of coffee. It's so nice. So nice. Thank you very much. And thank you all the panelists, and look forward to interact with you again. And thank you, listeners. And over to you, Shaukat.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Captain Halbe, sir. And yes, very engaging session, enchanting session. And I was just glued to my seat, listening to everybody who spoke, and also those many questions. I still have a lot of questions coming in, but I will post these questions on to you offline so that you can answer, and maybe I can put it back onto the sender. And so yes, so great address by all of you. And for me, I think seafaring is a challenge by itself also, but then we have lots and lots of talents and lots of skills of seafarers to get over those challenges. So I would like to firstly thank each one of you personally, Captain Halbe, Captain Paintal, Captain Aakriti, Captain Naik, Captain Allan, and Twishi, and of course our dear Qatar Airways. And I would like to also thank Ocean Technologies Group here and Bernard Schulte for supporting this event. So yes, thank you, Karthik. And with this, I would like to move on to the next session. We will don't leave us, ladies and gentlemen who are there on the platform listening to us. We come back to you at 1600 hours today with another very, very nice, interesting session. This will be slightly different, and it is on aligning skills of the maritime faculty. We have a global speaker base, Captain Mahesh Yadav from FOSMA. Arbia Hali will be speaking of new opportunities, employment opportunities. She's a doctorate in maritime economics. Mr. Sunil Kumar and Captain Himadri Ghosh from Singapore. Mr. Sunil Kumar is from India, JESCO. And we have Mr. Ali Shehab also from Kuwait, and Mr. David Bilbarkar from Mumbai. So stay with us and join us back here at the same auditorium at 1600, and have a good day. And sir, thank you so much. And if then nothing else, we would like to close this session right now. So
thank you.
Have a great day, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.